and I circled my answer. And these were all if we have a plus sign or a sum. Okay, so then if we have a difference, it's almost exactly the same thing. This difference just means that we have, we have A minus B times A minus B. And our equation changes because we have that minus. Excuse me. The only thing that changes is the term in the middle becomes a minus. So it's going to be A squared, and I'll write the squared in here in a minute, minus that 2AB plus B squared. Because we have that minus, the term in the middle becomes a minus sign instead of a plus. So we get A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. Okay, but the process is the same way. So we still name A and we name B. A equals, in this case, now we have 2x, and B will be 5y, the first and second terms of our binomial. Okay, so now we're going to plug it into that equation. I wonder if I can copy and paste. Aha! So we're going to plug it into this equation, A squared minus 2AB plus B squared. We just have our new A's and B's. Maybe. Okay, well, we'll just start a new one here. Okay, so 2x is our A. So we'll say 2x squared minus 2. A is 2x, B is 5y, and plus B squared, so B is 5y, and we'll have to square it. You write my squareds in. So we've got a squared right here and a squared right there. And hopefully as you're writing them, you should write them in as we go. I just can't do that with my commenting program that I'm using. Okay, so let's figure out what these are. So this squared that I just wrote right here belongs to the 2 and the x. So we have 2 squared, so I'll leave room for a squared, and an x squared, minus, we'll again put that 2 with the first term. So 2 times 2 will be 4x. We'll have that times 5y here in just a minute. And again, this 5y, both of these things get the 2. So we have a 5 squared and a y squared. Let me write in my squareds. So maybe I'll erase that here in a minute, but it should let me write my squareds. Maybe not. Okay, so these all have to have my 5 and my 2. Have squareds. Darn it. Sorry, guys. Don't like this. Okay. Okay, let's do this. Come over here. This should get a lot smoother as we go along. Alright. Delete. Okay. So, 5 squared and y squared, and 2 squared and x squared. So when we simplify this, 2 squared is 4. My x has a squared, I'll have to get that in there. You put your middle terms together, 4x and 5y. So 4 times 5 is 20, and we just keep both the x and the y. And 5 squared is 25, and that y will need a squared. This will be our final answer. So we'll have a squared on the 2 and a squared on the y. And we will circle our answer. Alright, sorry it's taking so long, but last one. So, name A and B. A equals, B equals, A is 6p. B is 1. You might have a question, why isn't it -1? It is not -1 because we're taking the negative and we're using it in our format of our equation. So you never take the negative with it. It's only the positive values of each of these. Okay, so now let us plug into our general form. A squared and B squared. Okay, so A is 6p. So we're going to use parentheses, 6p. Oh my. I think I changed my view. Oh boy. Bear with me here, guys. Hopefully this will go back. There we go. Okay, sorry. 6p parentheses, and we're going to square that here in just a minute, minus 2. A is 6p, and B is 1, and B is 1, which we will square. Okay, so 6p squared and 1 squared. We've got to take care of those, and we have to take care of this multiplication. So hopefully it will let me do it right here. So remember, if there's 2 terms there, both terms get our squared. So it'll be 6, and I'll write a squared, p squared minus 2 times 6 times 1 will end up being 12p. But just because we've always done the 2 times the first term, we'll make this 12p times 1, and we'll just get rid of that 1 here in a minute. Then plus 1 squared. Okay, let me write my squareds in. We had a 6 squared, a p squared, and a 1 squared. Almost there. 6 squared is 6 times 6, so that's 36p, and I'll need a squared there, minus 12p times 1 is just 12p. And what is 1 squared? It's just 1. So, once we have our squared in right there, 36p squared minus 12p plus 1 is your final answer. These are special binomials that follow a pattern that allow us to use this shorthand, and you'll get really quick at it the more you practice, but it'll be this shorthand that is faster than foiling. So we're going to practice it just for this section, and if you have to go back, when we get back into other things, if you have to change FOIL back into distribution, we can do that. But we're having to think about things a little bit differently so we can move into working backwards and doing something called factoring. Okay, all of these special sums and differences, these are called a perfect square. Oh, excuse me. The product of these sums and differences, so all of these things, the answers, these 3-pieced answers, are called a perfect square because we started with a perfect binomial and squared it. And there are 3 pieces, so it's called a trinomial. Perfect square trinomial. Okay, we're going to stop there, and I am going to ask you to go to your packet that I handed out, and you need to complete the 8-4 study guide and intervention that says special products, squares of sums and differences. That's page 25, and I'm going to ask you to do the problems from 1 to 14. You may find that you need extra paper, and that's totally fine. Just make sure if you do use extra paper that you write down the problems and the work so I can tell which problems you are working on. You will also need to figure out a way to be able to share these papers with me electronically in order for me to give you feedback and grade. So probably the easiest thing to do is going to be to take a picture on your phone or whatever you're using, phone, tablet, and you should be able to upload that to Google Classroom once I have it going. But just be thinking about that so that you can turn in your work. There should also be some way to turn in work directly, but like to the school at some point, but that isn't existing yet, and it's also kind of against the idea of us all being quarantined to our own homes. We will be sharing germs if we do that. So if you have trouble finding a way to make that happen, let me know and I can help you brainstorm ideas. So you're doing 8-4, page 25, the study guide and intervention, numbers 1 through 14. And I'll have that up on my Google Classroom as well. But that's what you should work on today. And we'll, if you have any questions while you're working on them, I will be around. You can email me, and once my Google Classroom is up, you should be able to message me there on Google Classroom. I will talk to you all soon.